and I am broadcasting live from Fantasy Grounds College. This is a one-shot game, but it's also meant to be somewhat of a tutorial for newer players. Today's theme is Let the Dice Decide. We're going to be using the Fantasy Grounds version 3.3.9, and eventually we'll be using Unity, but until then, we're going to use Classic. We have 7 players at the table today, and we have a table that I created in which that is actually going to give us the option of doing some random rolls to see who gets what character. So with that in mind, I'm going to have all of you.
Alrighty. Oh.
Let's go with 3.
I'll take 4.
I'll take 2.
I'll take 5. 5.
I'll take number 1.
I'm stuck with 6.
Alex, I'm going to share the dice roll with you, but I can't do that unless you're a player. So what I'm going to have to do is I have to start the roll, and then actually, Alex, go ahead and roll in the chat area. So pick a 6-sided dice, and we'll roll that.
Alrighty.
Yep. All right.
3.
So he rolled a 3. So who is number 3?
God damn it.
Oh,
3.
That's his name. God damn it.
It's Ash.
Okay, Ash. All right, Ash. So you get to go first. So tell me a little bit about your role-playing game experience.
So I've got a lot of experience in live LARPing, and I've got experience in 3.5 and 4.0 for D&D. I've no experience in 5th edition whatsoever, and I've got 0 experience with Fantasy Grounds. So it's going to be kind of a twofer for me of working the software and figuring out the mechanics of 5th edition. So,
all right, no problem.
Chaos, me. Right now, I have no role-playing, no tabletop game experience in anything. I've played a lot of RPGs, you know what I mean, but not tabletop RPGs.
That was Lowry. I have been playing D&D since I was about 9, so about 40 years. I play several RPGs, but I'm new to Fantasy Grounds. I've only been using it as a DM in real life situations. I've never played online, so that's what I'm looking forward to.
I've been playing 5e for a couple of years, and just more recently been playing on tabletop on Fantasy Grounds. Also getting into Pathfinder.
Same gear. It's okay. I've played a couple of sessions of D&D back in school, but this is like 15 or more years ago. This is my first time using Fantasy Grounds, and I'm looking.
Here I am.
I have a few sessions in playing 5th edition. I've played 4th edition, 3rd edition, so I have a little bit of experience with a lot of different of the games. And I've got the books and I've read up on it, so I'm looking forward to a good experience.
Ooh, I started out in second edition back in the day. In other words, I got some experience for like 25 plus years on tabletop. And I've only been playing Fire Grounds for about a year now and some change.
All right. But since I want Alex to help me in this endeavor, I am going to actually let you choose. You're going to choose first. There is 11 characters, and since you are a experienced player, I hope you choose wisely. So you may pick out of this group whatever character you would like. And from there, I'm going to have you help me roll the dice rolls for the rest of the class or the game session.
I'm trying to stay away from the ones already played.
Okay.
Rogue, Sorcerer, or Bard?
Okay. You may pick as you wish. Okay.
Going Rogue.
She's going rogue. So he has picked Namita. She is a human female rogue. She kind of leans more on the acrobatic assassin side of things, but she is a very formidable warrior or fighter. So I'm going to share a table with you. I don't know if this is going to work or not, but I'm going to give it a try. And I'm going to have you go ahead and roll the first roll, and we'll find out who gets what character. So are you able to see that?
Yep.
Okay.
Player 2.
Player 2.
Okay, I'll go ahead and I'll take Zamus, the male barbarian, the human male barbarian.
Okay. So go ahead and claim that. All right, Alex, if we roll the same number. Okay. Senior.
That's me, and I'm going the female elf sorceress, Shahira.
Okay. And let's go again. 5. Who is number 5?
That's Lowry, and I will take the druid.
Okay. All right, Alex, let's go. 2.
Go again.
Yep. 3 this time. I think that's another roll again, right?
No, that was me. That's
Okay.
Ash. So I will take Leroon, the half elf male ranger.
Okay. And then, of course, there's one more person here, right?
Chaos me.
So Chaos, you get to pick now. You just pick one. It's your number 6.
I'll be honest, I've never played. What do you think would be the best choice for me as a beginner? Just if you don't mind.
I would pick a warrior type probably. Let's see what our lineup looks like. So we have a barbarian, we have a druid, we have a rogue, we have a ranger, and we have a spellcaster, basically a sorceress. So probably either Valius, Centaurus, or Lord Gallimar. Those are 3 warriors. We could use a cleric, but a druid kinda is a cleric, sort of, kinda. I'm looking at the mix of the table. We don't have a bard either, so those are useful. But that's kind of a more of a advanced type of character to play.
I'll pick the Centaurus, then I think.
All right, so you are a centaur. So basically, you are half man, half horse.
All right.
All right. Hey, Alex.
And
Go ahead.
it's me.
All right.
I haven't picked one, so I'll pick the bard.
Okay, cool. All righty. Sorry about that. All right, Alex, I'm going to give you the next table to roll on. So let's do this. I got the tables up here. and I'm going to share. Let the dice roll. All right, so this is the terrain type, and what we're going to do is try to keep track of everyone gets a roll, including Alex. And what's going to happen is he's going to roll for us, but we're going to kind of do it in order. So we'll do it in the order of the characters in Fantasy Grounds. So after, I guess Zayla can choose first, and then Alex is just going to roll the dice for us. Okay?
All right.
Yeah.
So let's do that. So Alex, what did you pick again?
Nita.
Oh, that's right,
Oh.
Amita. That's right. All right. So he's rolling for Zayla. This will be kind of like your vote. Okay, we got a 4. So that is Swamp. So the next one is let's see. This roll is going to count for Zamas. So this would be like your roll. Basically, he's just doing it for you. Go ahead, Alex.
Well, on the train again.
Yeah. Another 4. Crap. Looks like Swamp already. Okay, Tristal. This is going to count towards him. Go ahead and roll again. So 7. That's a volcanic. Alex, go ahead and roll for yourself. Another 7.
Volcanic.
So volcanic or swamp. Shayra's basically her vote in, or her roll. And that one is forest. And next is for the ranger, Laren. That is dungeon. And now the last and final roll will be for Centaurius. Dungeon.
Jeez.
So 3-way tie. Wow, that's crazy. So let's do a tiebreaker here. How do you guys want to do this?
Flip the dice. Roll a d4.
Yeah.
I didn't roll. I don't know if that matters. I'm not
Yeah, it
big on
does
that, but-
matter. Go ahead. Roll one more. Alex.
10.
10 is coastal. So what do you think? We go with coastal? Because all the others are ties.
Sounds good.
So I was just looking for some variety there. All the other ones were like tied 2 and 2. So coastal's the only one that's different. So I think that.
Forest. We had forest too.
Oh, that's right. Can't do that now. Darn it. All
So
right.
we're doing for
3-way tie. So let's do a d6, and I'm going to have you roll this, and let me call it out first. So the first 1 through 2 will be swamp. 3 to 4, volcano, or whatever the other one was, dungeon. And then what was the other one? 5 and 6 is
Volcanic.
volcanic. Yeah. Go ahead, Alex. Just roll a d6. All right, 4. So
what was 4 again?
Dungeon.
dungeon. Dungeon it is. Okay. So you guys all have your character sheets with you. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So what we want to do now is kind of take a minute to set up the table. And the reason we do this is to make it easier for you when you play. So this is kind of a tutorial, but it also, for people who are already, know what they're doing, it's kind of more or less a reminder. So the first thing we want to do is unlock the dice tower. So that's all the way on the right-hand side of the screen on the bottom. If you right-click on it, you can unlock it. There's a symbol. And no, you don't need the tables anymore, Amita. Matter of fact, I'll unshare those. So if you're a GM and you share things with the table, right now these two are public. Now I'm making them no longer public. So that means no one will have access to those anymore. Okay. So basically unlock the dice tower, drag it over to the left and park it next to your 4-sided die. So just drag it over to the left. You can unlock it by right-clicking on it, and then left-click and drag it over and park it next to the 4-sided pyramid-shaped dice. The next thing we're going to do is kind of reshape the chat window. So I'm going to clear the chat for right now. Okay. And what I want you guys to do is just right-click on the chat window and unlock it. That means that'll allow you to stretch it. And then on the bottom right corner, just stretch it over to the right a little bit and have it line up with the right-hand side of the dice tower. And when we're done with this, I will do a screenshot and show you what I'm looking at. So all we're doing is kind of widening the chat window a little bit so that it lines up with the dice tower. Anybody lost?
No, I'm good.
Okay.
No.
So now you can lock both of those. So once you have it positioned, right-click on the chat window and lock it, and right-click on the dice tower and lock it. The next step is we're going to put all your characters in the combat tracker, but I want you to pull it up first. So it's the 2 swords on the top right of the interface. And you want to park the combat tracker right underneath all of your guys' icons that are lined up in the interface. And then I'd like you to take the bottom right corner of the combat tracker and just stretch it down a little bit. Leave a little room for the chat area. But you're just going to stretch the combat tracker downwards a little bit from the bottom right corner. And then your character sheets, I would like you to take your character sheet, drag the top of it or the frame all the way up to the top of the interface. And then I want you to drag it over and kind of park it next to the combat tracker. And then take the bottom right corner of your character sheet and kind of, make it tall and skinny and have it go all the way down to the bottom of the interface to where the hotkeys are. So I'm going to make a screenshot just so you guys have an idea of what I'm talking about.
No.
I'm good.
The color of your dice. Raz says the swamp says you have to travel the swamp to get to the dungeon that leads under a volcano. Thank you. In Fantasy Grounds, on the top right, you'll see a color palette. It's on the very top right corner or in that area where all the little buttons are. It looks like a little, like a French painter, or, you know, back in the day, they used to use a palette to paint. You can click on those colors and change the intensity. Is, you know, the larger the circle, the more intense the change. And then you have text that can be either black or white, and then of course you have black or white to make the dice either darker or lighter. So you can actually achieve brown. It's kind of hard. Brown is probably the hardest one to make. All right. Once you do that, go ahead and drop the dice in the chat window. And you'll see that you have a different variety of dice colors. It kind of helps the DM determine who's rolling. And then if you look on the top where all of our icons are connected to the table, if you look to the right of each character, there is a little colored dot. And that sort of indicates what color you chose for your dice. So the next step is we're going to set you up a couple shortcuts to make life easier on you. I'm actually going to put all of you in the chat or in the combat tracker. So we got a pretty good sized party, so this will be fun. You guys will be working together, and if you look on the front of your character sheet, you should be on the main tab. You will notice an initiative in the very center of your character sheet next to the shield, and there's the speed there. So that is basically your initiative roll. So there's a few different ways you can achieve this. The easiest way is just to double click inside of that cell and it will roll your initiative. So go ahead and do that. So you're on the main tab, your character sheet, and it automatically calculates in your dexterity bonus or penalty depending on what you have. And if you look at the combat tracker, it stacks up to show you who goes first, so on and so forth. Now, instead of doing it that way, you can actually drag that number down to your hotkeys. So instead of having to come all the way back to your character sheet, to the front of your sheet, drag single left click and drag the number, whatever it is, your initiative, and drop it into one of your home keys or your hotkeys below. And what that does is it just gives you a real quick, easy way, and you only have to single click, and it'll roll initiative from your task, down in your hotkeys. So that is a quick and easy way to make gameplay a little easier for you. And when it comes to your turn, it'll make things a little faster, so you're not, you're jumping through different pages. Now in the combat tracker, right now, because of what Namita had rolled, she rolled a higher roll. She would go first, and so on and so forth. When you want to pass your turn, when you're done, remember to pass your turn. So the way you do that is there is a arrow that looks like a square box with an arrow in it on the bottom of the combat tracker frame. So Alex was first, so he would pass his turn. Now, Laren, you passed yours. Yep. Shayra is next.
It's in the bottom left.
Sorry?
Bottom left on the frame of the combat tracker, there is there you go.
Got it.
Yep. And it looks like it's Tristal's turn, the druid. So, yep, that's how you pass your turn. Yep. And perfect. So when your turn is done, when it's complete, don't forget to click that. Now you can drag that little button to your hotkeys as well. So rather than reaching over there and trying to click it from there, you can actually drag that little square box and put it next to your other shortcut for your initiative roll. Then when it's time to pass your turn, all your little shortcuts are right next to each other.
Where they drop the character sheet into the hot?
I don't think so. Not the way you're thinking, anyways. You're talking about the character sheet itself?
Yeah, you can.
Yeah, you can. Yeah. I was wondering, like, if you were trying to do it from the combat tracker or just period.
I'm just trying to do it, period. Try
Okay.
to drop my character sheet into
Yeah.
the.
Yep. If some reason you lose your character sheet, you close it on accident, you can actually double click on the pin on the right hand side of the combat tracker where those round circles are. So if you close your character sheet for some reason, if you double click on your entry there on the combat tracker, on the far right, there's a round circle, and that'll bring your character sheet up too. So you should have a shortcut to your end turn, and then you should have a shortcut for your initiative roll. So let's go to the second tab on your character sheet, and this is your skills tab. So all of you have a number of skills depending on what your build is and such. Now the main one that's used and kind of abused is perception. So to roll a skill check, all you have to do is double click where it says total. So if your DM asks you for a perception check, you just reach over there to the right where the numbers are, where the actual total is, double click there, and it will roll your skill check. And normally you have to beat a certain number in order to be successful with that particular skill check. So what I'd like you to do, instead of having to come back here every time for a perception check, I want you to shortcut perception. So all the way to the right where the total number is, drag the number, whether it's a 0 or plus or minus, and drag it into your hotkeys. Because that's commonly asked for.
Real quick, I closed the combat, the character sheet, trying to get the circle to do it back up, and I.
Right. So go to your combat tracker, double click on your entry there on the round circle or the little pin, and it should bring your character sheet back up.
Negative.
You find it?
No, there's no pin on there. I'm thinking it might be on yours.
Okay. The other thing you can do is double click on your portrait on the top left of the interface.
Oh, that's all I needed to know. Okay, that's perfect. I was just trying to save real.
Yep. Yeah, leave your character sheet where I had you put it.
And yes, you can just go ahead and drag the portraits of your character sheet and put it into a safe corner to the right in case you do that again or like completely closed it. You forgot where it's at. Yep. Instead of just trying to find it through the character's PC select screen, all you just go to that spot, just click in the character's file.
Yep.
Perfect. Yep. And you told us to drag perception down?
Yeah, the total number. Not the skill description, but the actual number. The total. And then I'd like you to pick one other skill that you think you might want to use throughout the game. So usually it's a class-related skill, and you're really not going to know which skills you're going to use. But if it's something you think you might use, go ahead and make a shortcut for that. So like some of you that are rogues might use stealth, fighters might use athletics or acrobatics. It just depends on how you feel and how you think about your character. But you should only really use one or two shortcuts. You don't need to shortcut every single one of them. It's just probably you'll get a feel for it. You know, eventually, you'll say, "Oh, okay, I want to do that one because I'm always using that skill." But I know perception is one of the ones that most people use. So if I ask you to roll in the dice tower, I'm going to have you drag that shortcut or from your sheet on the total and drop it in the dice tower. So the shortcut that you just made, drag it to the dice tower and drop it on there. So that just rolled a hidden roll, and only I can see the results. So you know you've rolled it, but you have no idea what the total is.
How did you do that again? I'm sorry.
Just drag your shortcut or your roll into the dice tower. There you go.
All right, thank you.
Yep. So if your DM asks you to roll in the dice tower, that's how you do it. Usually it's skill checks or ability checks or, saves and such. Normally combat is not conducted in the dice tower. That's usually in the open. So that's your skills tab. So we'll go to your abilities tab. More or less at this point, your characters are already built. Those are your proficiencies, traits, features, those sort of things. All that stuff's already dealt with. You don't have to mess with it, but when you're building your character, those start to populate as you build. So those have already been baked into your character now. So you don't really have to worry about them just yet. However, if you want to read what one of those does or what it's for, you have all those pins or shortcuts on the right-hand side. So if you want to read what one of those does, if you click on that, it should pop up with a description. It might yell at you if you don't have the player's handbook open, because some of these rely on the rule books to pull up the descriptions. So let's go to your inventory tab. Now, all of you should have your inventory. It should be pretty much set. You don't really have to monkey around too much with it, but there is quite a bit of gear and equipment that goes with your character. When you're building characters, you'll be able to customize this more, and you can either lighten your load or get more items depending on how you play your character. But you don't have to mess with this too much unless you're going to unequip or equip a new weapon or armor or a shield. So let's go to the Notes tab. So the Notes tab is your role-playing aspect of your character. Normally when you build your character, you'll be able to make up all your own stuff. Obviously, these are already made up, and they already have their personality traits, ideals, bonds, flaws. And down below, I made some specific notes for these characters. All the characters that you're playing are characters that I have played with over the last 30 years of playing D&D. They're all modeled after different characters that I have played or that were in my campaigns. So they all know each other somehow, some way. So I made like a little attitude table on the notes section. And I think Namita's is missing. One of them was missing at one time. There was no attitude table. But basically it's 1 through 10. And the higher the number, the better you feel about that individual, including yourself. So if you look down that table, you kind of get an idea of who gets along, who doesn't, based off that number. Now, I'm not expecting you to play that because you're so new and you don't have any idea who these characters are, but I made that for a role-playing dynamic to kind of make it funner for the people that don't know anything about it.
Zala's my best friend.
Yeah. Yeah, Zamas and Namita were actually lovers at one time. They were friends.
Whoa.
They were friends. They were lovers. Now they're just friends. So just a very short time. And they both escaped from a city together. She was running from the Thieves Guild, and she freed him from the slave markets. And they both fled together. They kind of helped each other out of the situation. All right. So that is the Notes tab. The Log Sheet tab we're not going to deal with. That is for Adventures League, so we're not playing an Adventures League play today. So let's go to the Actions tab. So this is where you're going to spend a majority of your time when you're playing. So near the top, you have your weapons. You have your consumable items, which is like your rations and if you have a potion or two or water, candles, anything like that. Those are one-time use. You will have your class features or abilities that go with your class. and then you'll have either spells or some special abilities, depending on your character. And then you have standard actions. So a majority of the play will be from here. So when you're playing your character, it should be set on the bottom. The mode should be set to combat, and the display should say actions. Or playing. Now, when you are setting up your character for the first time or building your character, I'd like you to change the mode part, change that to standard. So on the bottom of your character sheet, you change that to standard. Basically, that's the mode you would be in when you're building your character. Now change it to preparation, and that is how you select the spells that you want for the day, and you set up your usages for your items or your special abilities, what have you. So where you want to be, though, when you're playing is combat and then actions. So I just wanted you to understand what that's for. Now, you have little buttons and such that you will be using depending on what the situation is. So some of the abilities that you have on your character sheet, they are situational, and some of them are consistently on, like passive. So for instance, Namita has the feet alert, so she can probably have that on the whole time. Zayla, you have, let's see, Fey Ancestry, so half-elf Fey Ancestry. So if you click that button, that'll actually put it on your character as a reminder. Zamas, yours is more situational. So when you use your features, more than likely, it'll just be like when you rage, those sort of things. So yours, you don't have any. Oh, excuse me. Feet athlete. That is something that stays with you. So that's more or less a note, but it allows you to run faster, jump farther, jump higher. So on your sheet, where it says barbarian abilities, if you look towards the bottom, there's a feat called athlete. If you click on the button, that'll apply it to your character. You see it there, Zamas? Yep. Okay. So Tristal, you are a human variant, and you are a moon wizard or a moon druid. So you'll have access to quite a few wild shapes. When you, let's see, do you have anything that's going to stay? It's not going to be situational. And not really. So it looks like you have basically your wild shape. Okay. So basically, you don't have any passive abilities. Shayra, you have passive abilities more than likely because of your elven heritage. So if you look at your sheet on the actions tab down below, you should see something that says Elf Fey Ancestry. And then you also have Mask of the Wild. So if you're outside or you're in a situation where you're mild, like smoke or rain or something like that, it helps to obscure you. It's easier for you to hide, in other words, if you have those conditions.
Neat.
So Leyran, you are a half elf, so you also have Fey Ancestry. So on your actions tab, you want to look for your racial ability half elf and enable that if you haven't already.
When you say enable it.
Click the button next to it. There's a
Oh
little
yeah,
guy.
no, I looked at that. Yeah.
The effect.
Yep. So go ahead and click on it, and it'll apply it to your character.
Did that work?
I don't see it. Just click on the button next to the half elf. Yeah, you did that's your favorite enemy. Just above there, though, you have, oh, you already did it. Okay, you got it. And then you want to put in fighting style archery, because that'll stay with you. Favorite enemy, let's remove that, because unless you come up against your favorite enemy, you don't get that bonus. So what you do is in the combat tracker, you click on the winged boot, and then the favorite enemy skills survival check thing, you can just double click on it. There you go. So that one's kind of situational. Same thing with the natural explorer and primeval awareness. You know, you'd have to basically spend an action, and you would basically spend one of your spell slots to detect enemies within a mile or so. And then you have Slayer's Prey, which is situational. So you have all your passive abilities on. Centaurus, same thing. You go to your actions tab and make sure it says combat and actions below. You're still on preparation. There you go.
There you go. I got it.
Yep. So basically you got your hooves. So you get 2 attacks with your natural hooves. You have a spear. It's +1 spear. You can charge with it. If you have 20 feet of room, you can elect to charge with that spear, and it's one of your abilities, and it will do extra damage. You can only do it once per rest or something like that, but
Yes.
it is pretty cool. And then you have Action Surge, which gives you a bonus attack. If you want to continue your attacks, you can use one of those. And then you have some that Second Wind helps you heal yourself in case you get too low on hit points. You're able to use that Second Wind once per day too. So you have some real good abilities there. So you have your longbow and your spear, which you can throw, or you can use your spear two-handed as well.
Okay, I wasn't sure what the difference was, but I understand that.
One is for jabbing, one is for throwing, and then the bottom one is for when you use it two-handed. It does more damage.
Okay.
So you can charge in actually, I think, with 2 hands, and then you could use your charge bonus damage, and it would do quite a bit of damage.
Yeah, definitely.
But you have to have the room, and you can't have people in your way.
Okay.
20 feet is the minimum. So anybody got any other questions about their characters?
Did I need to add any of this to my guy over here to the left on the combat?
No.
Okay, I didn't think so.
It's already it's situational in your case.
Okay.
Yep.
Only thing I've noticed is on mine, it shows my targets as me. I think I must have clicked something.
Oh.
It's control click.
Yep. Because you're probably held the control key down. So, yeah, you can remove your own targets. Cool. All right. So, sorry it took a little while to get through that, but this is part of the one shot is learning how to deal with that. So I'd like you to take a few minutes to look over your character. You may ask questions about it. If you need to read what it does, normally the pins on the right-hand side will have a description of what it is. And take a look at your stats. They're all up on top. I have a extension that's basically showing all your stats, your armor class and such on this page, so you don't have to go all the way back to your main page. That little block on the top is not normally there. It shows your hit points, your initiative roll. All that stuff is just kind of brought to here, so you don't have to go back to the front of your character sheet. So I'm going to set up our dungeon here. So you guys can talk amongst each other. Basically, you're starting off at an inn, in any town, doesn't matter where. And you guys have decided to take a rest, basically get a meal, get out, stretch your legs, basically take a break from working. And you are basically squaring up to get a meal. And upon getting your drink served to you, you overheard this man talking about this awful sound that was coming from underneath his house. And he was complaining about it, that it's been keeping him up all night. And he's really pissed off, and he keeps talking about, you know, calling in the authorities, and he's all half drunk and not even sure if you can trust his words. But he's awfully upset, and he does not like, what he's heard, or what the sound that comes from underneath his house. So he seems a little bit crazy, is the word. So I encourage you guys to do a little role playing, and I will have this map set up here shortly.
Since Zayla's good friends with Leiroon, he asked her, do you trust that man? Do you think there is something underneath his house? Seems mighty.
Seems a little bit odd for it to be anything smaller than a big rat, right?
Could be a couple of rats.
Could be a rat king.
How big is his house anyway?
Do you want to talk to him, or are you just talking to each other?
Just talking to each other for now.
Okay.
I mean, I think we should probably talk to him.
Sure.
All right.
Hello.
Who's doing the talking?
I guess Zayla will come up and approach and, hello, we hear that you have a problem with your house. Heard you muttering over there. What seems to be?
Yeah. He kind of like waves his hand like he's dismissing you. Just me and my drunk talk. My name's Merle. Pleased to meet you. And he hands you this big, this big stubby fingers, but they're very strong and powerful. Lots of hair on the back of his hands. And he has this old dog kind of sitting next to him in the bar. And they call me Merle T. Jack. And he says, I'm a hunter. And when I come down from the mountains, I want a nice, even sleep. And I'm getting all these goddamn clicking sounds when I'm trying to sleep at night. And it's driving me nuts. And I got the gold to back up these claims. So if you want to help me figure out where a goddamn noise is coming from, then I invite you to come to my goddamn cabin and get rid of that goddamn noise. So he seems like he's getting agitated as he's describing this agony he's been going through.
Is the sound outside or down below?
I don't know. He says, I don't care where it is. I want it gone. It gives me a headache. It makes me mad. It just pisses me off to no end.
Well, a mighty hunter like you should have gone down to have a look. Why didn't you check it out?
Well, let me tell you something. He looks at you and he kind of squares you up. See, and he stands up. He's this big burly guy, kind of fat, not really fat. He looks like he's a big mountain man. He's got like hair coming out of his shirt. He's just a big old beard, kind of gnarly looking guy. Dark hair with a little bit of gray in it. And he's got this little twinkle in his eye. He looks like a prospector, kind of. I don't know if you guys know what that looks like. But he has a pick and he has a like a hunting bow and like a short blade, maybe a dagger or a short sword. And his dog looks fairly old, like maybe looks like it's got a few years left to live, and that's his hunting dog. And he calls it Spike. I don't know why. It's a stupid name for his dog, but yeah, the dog's name is Spike, and it just lays there. But it's his pet, it's his family. That's what he knows. So he looks at you and he says, "Well, if I could get some damn sleep, I might do it myself. But I need a goddamn night of sleep before I do anything else. And I just got back here this evening. I've dropped several coins on that damn bar." And he says, "If you guys are willing to hear an old man bitch about his troubles, then I'm willing to buy you a round of ale. On me." So
Very well.
he pulls out a heavy pouch. And I mean, all these people in the bar, there's not that many, maybe 6 or 7 townsfolk looking people.
Well, I'll sit next to him.
Yeah, they hear that chink on the counter, and that pouch isn't small. I mean, it's like a little bag, and you can see rips in it. He's probably dropped a few coins, and he's kind of drunk, and he's kind of boisterous. So I'm sure that a few people have got a hold of his gains. And he said that he cashed in a bunch of gold, and this is what he got for it. And he's hoping to return to his home and get a good night's sleep. But the goddamn clicking is just driving him nuts. So he got back up out of bed, but got dressed, and you can see he's haphazardly dressed. He's got one boot on and one shoe or like a sandal. He's got like his pants are halfway up, and he's got one suspender on, and he just looks like a hell of a wreck. And he stinks like BO and frickin' sweat and wilderness. I don't know how that comes across, and he smells like old beer. And he's got like little bits of food stuck in his beard. And his hands are not really too clean either. Looks like he's either scratched his butt too much or he's been rubbing his hands in the dirt. Either way, he's not the most savory.
I think Zayla would barely tolerate it, but I guess she wants to get on with people. So as she's patting the dog, well, as long as you're able to pay, I'm sure that my friends and I will be willing to.
He says, "You like my dog, Spike?"
He seems friendly enough.
Yeah, the dog looks like an old hunting hound. He really seems to appreciate the love and the care you're giving him. And his legs kind of twitching, like it's been a long time since anyone's actually petted him. And he might be a little flea bitten, but nonetheless, he seems like a pretty mellow dog. Doesn't seem to be aggressive or anything. His tail wags a little bit as you're scratching on him. And you notice that it does have a few fleas, and not very pleasant, but that's how it is. And who said they were going to sit next to Merle?
Tristel.
Crystal, you've been outdoors. You've been all outdoors, but you have not smelt the likes of this individual. He smells like a bear that's been cooped up in a hibernation den for 6 months. He smells like urine. He smells like, I don't know, just doesn't smell pleasant. I don't know if you know the smell. Have you ever gone to a city when you walk downtown and you will see an alley and you have to cut through there and it just smells like urine?
Oh, yes.
Well, that's the smell. Smells like a bum.
Do I notice anything else odd about this gentleman?
He has some scars on him, like he had seen some battle in his day. He's got like a big paw mark or some kind of scars on his cheek. He has a little bit of a limp, like when he stood up to talk to Zayla. He kind of seemed he's either sore or he's got a little bit of a limp. And then like I said, he's haphazardly dressed.
Can I run an investigation check on him to see if I know what it was that caused the wound?
Sure. Do a nature check, actually. All right. So some sort of, fairly heavy clawed animal raked his face. And from the spacing of it, is probably some kind of Bruin or a bear. So it looks like he might have wrestled with a bear at one time. Maybe that, or maybe a big cougar or something. Something got him.
So I asked him, so tell me about these wounds of yours. How long ago did you?
When I was a young man, he kind of like puts his hand over his scar. He kind of looks embarrassed. Says, his whiskers kind of cover some of it up. And that might be why he has the beard, because he's got a pretty long scrape there when you really start looking at it. You called attention to it. He seems a little bit shy and embarrassed about it. But he just says, basically, I got that when I was a young man. I was out hunting in the forest, and this bear came up on me and tried to steal my food. And I turned around and I yelled at it, and it yelled back, and it swatted me right in the face. And it killed my bird dog. And now I got this dog, and he points at Spike, and just Spike's all I got. And my family's gone, and now he's getting at, when drunks, they go through different stages where they're happy for a while, then they get sad, and, he's doing that. He's obviously been drinking most of the evening. So he's getting sappy now.
Being is that, nature is my thing, I want to make a nature check to see if I can distinctly determine what that smell is emanating from or where it came from.
Okay,
Oops, I rolled it in the tower on accident.
that's fine. So from what you could tell, it seems like this guy may be into some sort of hunting, trading bit. The smell is very gamey, probably because he's been gone and away for a while, but also because he handles a lot of furs and probably does a lot of skinning, and he probably does taxidermy and who knows what else. But it just seems like that this guy is, seen his share of work. He doesn't look like he's spoiled or anything like that. Looks like he's worked hard. But from what you can tell, it looks like his forays into hunting and living in the mountains have caught up to him.
Well, where is your lodge or hut or home? Anyway,
I thought you would
is it
never
near
ask.
the town?
He says, "Are you flirting with me, young lady?" And he looks all shy. And he's got this big toothless grin. He's got a couple of missing teeth.
Zayla just smiles slightly and trying to tolerate the smell that's emanating from him and says, what do you gives a wink.
He's like, "Well, sit on down here, lass. You want a glass of wine? You and your cute friend over here." And he looks at Shayra. And he says, "Why don't you guys sit down and have some drinks with me and we'll talk? And the rest of you, I'm buying you around, so the bartender's pouring you guys ales for free. And would the ladies like wine, or you're into ale, or maybe you're into spirits?" And he gets all happy looking. Ooh.
Zayla interjects, well, I like to do business before pleasure, so perhaps we have a look at your house before we get on to celebrating.
Pleasure? That's something I haven't experienced in many, many, many years. Perhaps we will. Very well, I'll settle up my tab and I'll meet you outside. So he kind of looks like he's trying to come to his senses, and he kind of just nudges the dog with his foot. He doesn't kick it, but he kind of nudges it to get it to get up. And he walks over to the bar and starts paying his tabs, and he's pointing at the two women in the party, acting like one of those lecherous, chauvinistic, I don't know what other name I can throw in there, sexist guy. He's not the guy. He's not PC, or he's not very sociable with women. But you know, he's got his quirks and got a lot of money.
Have we established OOC? Have we established a what he's going to pay?
No, he hasn't said anything about the amount.
Okay, so I will kind of just stop for a second and as he's walking, I just say, well, hold just a moment. I'm curious, what's this worth to you? I'd like to find out what he's.
And he looks at you, and he gives you the stone cold, serious face, and he says, "Mister, if I can get a good night's sleep, you can have this whole damn bag," and he hands it to you. That's what it's worth to me.
All right, I can guarantee you a good night's sleep for this. I kind of look back at the party and
You got
make
a
eye contact
bag.
with them. I'm looking.
You got a bag of coins. It's not light. It's fairly heavy. I mean, it's not like you're rich, but if you split it with your party, it'd be a good haul. And the barkeeper says, he's looking at you, by the way, whoever just got the bar money. Whoever has that money, the bartender is looking at you like,
So I go ahead and pay for the rounds that he bought out of that money.
Okay. So he starts kind of walking away, and he's trying to hold his pants up, and he's walking out the door with his dog, and I live up here, over here, up in this little hill up here by the town, and he seems to be kind of just not going very fast. So you're not going to miss anything. The bartender says, "Thanks," and he looks at the coins and says, "I'll tell you what, give me 20 gold, and I'll worry about settling the rest another time."
All right. And I don't know what's in the bag yet, so I don't
No.
know.
So you just count out 20 gold, and bartender says he owes us. Go ahead.
Can't I negotiate for it? Like, make it 15 or persuade him?
Sure. You want to get up and say, "Wait a minute."
Well, we haven't had those drinks. We just poured them. It's like,
Yeah, that's right. So the bartender kind of looks at you like, "Okay, what are you up to here?" He's like, well, there's the thing. Guy owes me a lot of money. I mean, a lot. And this is the first time I've seen any gold out of him in months. So something has changed. However, I am glad that he's settled up some of his debt. But being that he just gave you what he cashed in, I don't know if he'll be so happy about that in the morning, but I ain't going to hold you accountable for his problems and his debt. So I will take 20 and call it good. You take whatever's left.
Are the drinks that we just purchased or that he just purchased for us? Does that come out to 20 gold or does it come out?
No, it's a separate transaction.
Right. Well,
that comes out of his debt. It comes out of his debt.
I was going to say I don't want to assume his debt. Like
you're not. I'm letting you walk out of here with the rest of the gold without raising a big stink. But he owes a lot, like more than probably what's in that bag. So
what is which character are you playing?
Excuse me?
Try to find out which character is talking to the bartender.
Oh, I don't know who's talking to the who was that?
Who got the bag?
Well, I've got the bag.
Laren has the bag, but let's see. Senior, you're playing Zayla, right?
No, I'm Shira.
Oh, Shayra. So Shayra ain't saying shit.
I was talking to what is it? The big
Merle.
Merle, yes.
Yeah.
And I was playing Zayla.
I would just listen. I was about 2-3 steps away from gold.
I've got the bag. I'm okay paying the 20 gold and walking away without really, because I don't want to cause any problems with the innkeep. And it still, to me, feels like it's plenty more than.
Yeah, it does. Matter of fact, there's probably a couple hundred gold in there. But who
There's
knows how
also-
much he's lost and how much he's spent.
Let's pay him.
Pay the man or not?
I say we pay him.
So
Pay him.
we're done with the 15 gold thing. That's not a thing anymore.
Pay him the 20 and it's good.
Ah, very good. So he looks kind of greedy, and he just rubs his hands together and takes his apron and dumps all the coins in there and goes to his back room. So
That's
it looked a little bit shady, but whatever. So you're wondering, God, this guy must be freaking hungry for gold or something. He even took a bite out of the gold to make sure it wasn't fake.
As we're walking along, Zella will ask Mel, so how did you acquire so much gold there? Did you go on a hunting?
Oh, so many questions. I thought we were going to go have fun. I don't know. I just came into town and, I had a good run and I cashed it in and here I am. I was at the bar. Tried to go home like a responsible citizen. And then all that damn noise happened. So I came back here. Spent some more money, drank some more. And now I have a bunch of friends. You guys want to party or what?
Well, as I said, business first. What's this clicking noise that you keep talking about?
Ah,
Let's
yeah, it's
investigate
awfully
that.
loud. Super loud. Just wait till we get there. So, from what you can tell, his home is probably less than a mile away from the town where the inn was. The town is just your typical fantasy medieval setting with a well. The trees in this area and the fauna look kind of deciduous or pine. The air is very cool. It's probably like in fall, maybe early fall. There's a slight mist as the evening encroaches as you guys start to leave. It is getting dark. It's not fully dark, but it's getting there. There's a nice clear sky, no rain, precipitation, and you can hear an owl every now and then as you head towards his home. He nearly falls a couple times, either tripping over his own feet or losing his balance because he's half drunk. Trips over the dog. He goes, "Arr!" Actually steps on the damn thing on accident. And you get up towards his home, which is on top of this hill. Looks like it may have been an old church or something. Not sure. But it's an old rundown brick-like building. And it kind of has a wooden trestled roof that someone threw over the top of it. It looks like it's been patched and repaired. And it also looks a little run down, but it looks functional for shelter. You can see a chimney fire stack coming out of it. It's not too big. It's not like a temple. It's just like a small building on the hill where it may have been something more important at one time, but you're not quite sure. But there's a lot of bricks and older building material that, was probably there before the town was. So you're not even sure what this thing is. But whatever it is, it wasn't intended to be a home.
Can I use we're level?
Excuse me?
Are our characters, are they level 3?
You guys are level 3, yeah.
Can I use primeval awareness? Am I
Primeval awareness? Yeah. You'd have to use one of your spell slots.
just per day?
Yes.
Yeah, let me go ahead and use it. How do I just
Just-
want to find.
Just click off the check off one of your spell slots. And then what you're going to do is, I guess, focus on the area, and you are looking for danger or something in the vicinity. And the closer you get to the house, you get this stomach feeling, like this weird achy stomach. And that's indicative of the power of the primeval awareness. You kind of have this gnawing, nauseous feeling in your stomach. And that tells you that there is some sort of danger coming up. Not really specifying what, but as you get closer to his home, that feeling kind of just creeps up on you. It just gives you that, like, there's something going on up here. Like you kind of have that, danger sense sort of thing going on.
All right. Where do I click that off just so I can?
In
verify
your
that?
spell slots, you should have some on your actions tab.
Actions. I see spell.
There should be some little slots up there above underneath your weapons.
Oh, got it. Okay, I've got 3. I see.
So you get
Cool.
this really, this strong emanation of fear and horror and just kind of a weird mixture of emotions coming from that facility.
So at this point, I'll stop the party and I will inform them of this, that there is definitely something in there, and it's.
Okay, it's not good.
What do you sense? I assume there was danger if they were going to hire us.
Well, but we didn't know if he was telling the truth or not. And now I can say without a doubt that there's something now, because it's primeval. I know that it's some type of creature. It's a elemental fae, undead. Like it's not natural.
Well, are you sure it's not him? He smells bad, but yeah.
He's been with us, so this is definitely coming from the house or the facility.
I don't sound loud enough for him to hear it.
Another thing you notice as you get closer to his lair or where he lives, that smell that you smelt on him is kind of emanating from the walls and the grounds near his home. So that rotten kind of musty smell is getting a little bit stronger. You don't know if it's because you're downwind from him or if it's just the way he smells. But it just stinks to high heaven as you get closer to this building. And even the dog seems to shy away. The dog actually starts trying to go over towards Zayla. And he's like, "Come on, Spike, what are you doing?" He seems oblivious, like nothing's wrong.
So, is his house open and accessible? Or do we not
Yes.
know that?
Yeah,
Okay, so
yeah, he's got like a key, and he kind of just rattles the key in this old door that's iron bound. It looks like the door has been replaced several times because the hinges are all rusty and broke. And he just kind of throws the door open and he says, "Welcome to my home." And he just falls flat on his face and he's out. He basically passes out. And
Well,
this
he got
aroma,
his sleep.
the aroma from the house just comes pouring out. I mean, it is horrible. It smells like no other, like bad feet and everything else mixed together. I don't know if you've
Can
been
we say-
around that, but it's pretty bad.
And
Can
the
we say
clicking sound is what's the point?
So the clicking sound, you don't hear that yet until he actually hits the floor. As soon as he hits the floor, you can hear some muffled clicking sounds from all around the property, mainly right centered around this building that he calls home.
Do we recognize the clicking, whether it's natural Or
It sounds rhythmic, so you're not sure if it's, I don't know. It's just weird. It's just
If
like
I-
click, 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 click. You're not sure if it's, if it's actually communication or if it's just some, maybe it's some kind of machinery or not machinery, but something semi-mechanical that, that would make this sound.
If I use the insight skill, would it possibly tell us the intentions?
The intentions of the clicking.
Yes, the creature that we hear.
Okay, sure. Go ahead and roll. So, from your experience that you have gathered from your time in the forest, you do at one time recall an incident where you had heard this clicking before, but it isn't quite the same. So it's a little confusing to you. Your hunch is that it may be a form of communication between some sort of either animals or perhaps maybe not, but that's your guess. Or at least that's from what you draw upon from your past.
Can I run a perception check to see if I can, if it's coming from anywhere in particular? I know you said all over the property.
Yeah, it's kind of a broad statement, but yes, go ahead and roll your perception check. So you kind of scan the property, and you're kind of getting a noise from people moving around. But as you focus your hearing, you can actually hear the muffled sounds coming from under the building itself. You get this feeling that it's underneath.
is there a door to a basement or another lower level?
You're kind of right outside the door, and you're kind of looking in, and you get this waft of the stinky smell. It looks like he's got like old deer heads hanging up in here, and he has like a bearskin rug, and he just, he's not a very good housekeeper, but there's no indication that there's any stairwell or anything in here. Although on the outside, there is a pair of doors that are bound by an iron chain. And the doors have a kind of a cement / brick foundation. And they're like the old doors that they used to have for a coal chute back in the day, when you'd pull the doors open, and that would get you into a basement-like situation or a chute. So there
Cold
is,
room,
excuse me?
something like a cold room.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell the others. It seems like there's an entry to the basement out here through the double doors. Perhaps that's the way in.
But I never got to ask the question, how long has this building been here and how long he's been here?
Who are you asking?
So
What?
whoever's listening, so well, apparently we didn't ask the question that how long you been here and how long has this building been here, and since he's passed FI.
Yeah, he's snoring. You guys can hear him snoring, and his dog is kind of like slowly pacing back and forth, like it doesn't want to go near the house.
So what's the reason the solar is locked up for then?
Good question.
Well, it's on
Maybe
the
it's a
outside
trap.
of the building. It's on the outside, right? So assume you'd lock anything that anyone can enter from the outside.
I'll go check the guys, see if I can find a key.
I don't suppose if the druid has anything that can help us with Tristan.
I'm
I
going
couldn't
to
hear you.
search.
Sorry, you cut off on me.
I was trying to find out if you have anything that can help us with the dog.
I have animal handling, sure.
I'm
not-
going to search the guys, see if we got any key to the cellar.
And I will approach the dog and try to use animal handling to calm it down.
So you managed to, you didn't roll anything there. You just rolled a
I'll check.
d20.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry. Hit
Can
the
I
wrong
check
side.
Mel's pockets for the
Sure.
key to see whether he...
Sure. So the key was right. I mean, it was stuck in the door for the
Okay.
for the house, or for where you unlock the door. So you look at it and you look at the lock on the stairway, and it appears to be the same key to the same lock, or a similar lock.
I grab it and hand it to Namita. Is this what you're looking?
Well, yeah.
Tristel, you
Yes.
have that dog under control.
Yay.
Let's give that
following
a
you.
try. If it doesn't work, I got.
Let's see.
All right.
We're gonna take the key and see if it unlocks it.
All right. So you stick the key in there and you start twisting. It's a little rusty. It's been out in the elements for a while, but it does have a little bit of a give to it, like it has been oiled. And as you hear the click and pop of the lock, you notice that there's drag marks all over the ground near the entryway. So the grass and the shrubbery and whatever else grows has been kind of ripped up, like something big has been dragged down through this way. And go ahead and make a investigation or a perception check, Alex. Okay, so you're looking closer at the entryway, and you pop the lock, and all around the entryway looks like there's fur, like animal fur or something. Can't really tell. You're not an expert, but you know animal fur when you see it. And before you pop the doors open, you can smell like a stinky kind of decay smell coming from the cracks in this doorway. So there's some minor cracks in there.
Okay, I'm gonna step to the side, pop the lock, and see.
Okay. So nothing happens. Are you going to open the doors, or anybody here to open?
I call out to the ranger. I think who is that? And say, seems to be some animal fur. What animal it is?
What would I roll?
Do a nature check. All right. So you just kind of kneel down and you're looking, and you notice that there's all variety of different animals, but it looks like moose, bear. Looks like there's some like goat. I mean, there's all kinds of different animals that apparently were drug in and out of this area. Because you're looking at the tracks. Go ahead and roll survival check, please.
Okay.
All right. So the tracks don't seem that old. And when I say tracks, there's like ruts in the ground from either they were horns when you drug the animals, is what you're getting. Is the picture you're getting in your mind is that somebody big and powerful drugged these animals and they threw them down in this basement. That's the picture you're getting from the tracks. And you could see Merle's footprints mixed in and kind of buried in with some of the other drag marks. So
Am I
he's
getting-
obviously been here before.
Am I getting any sense of anything unnatural about the wilderness, or the foliage or anything around the area?
Yeah, actually, it seems kind of quiet. Like normally there's crickets and owls and such. When the closer you guys got to the house, all of you sort of noticed that, the moon's up and it's beautiful, but it got really quiet as you got closer to this house. Now you can't hear anything but yourselves and that stupid clicking sound. And it is definitely coming from down below.
Does the clicking sound natural or mechanical?
It sounds, I don't know, like a dull thud. That's about as best as the way I can describe it to you. So it doesn't sound metallic.
Okay.
So I have dark vision. Is it dark inside?
Yes, it is very dark inside.
What can I see with my dark vision? I'd have to look that up in the library unless.
Well, you can look down a staircase, and the staircase looks pretty old. The ground itself, it's kind of hard to tell because your dark vision will give you the three-dimensional space, but it doesn't give you the impression of anything else. So in other words, you can see everything, but if something is written on a wall or painted or anything like that, you can't see that without a torch or some sort of unless of course it's carved into the wall or something.
I mean, we do have a torch.
Yep. Yeah, you sure do.
I'll light the torch.
All right. So you light the torch to get a better look, and it lights up the area. Just dust and just like hair and just a really stinky smell coming from out of this basement. You can see a lot of dried blood on the stairwell, and there's little clumps of flesh that's been rotten and probably been there for a long time. So apparently, whoever uses this area doesn't clean the stairwell, and there is animal vermin, rat shit. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff that just tells you this place is not a good place.
I stand toward the torch, but I don't know. That might be a good idea because we go under the house. You might catch the house on fire, but that might be. But I'm gonna put on my hooded lantern, put some oil on it, put some fire there.
Now, Centaurus does not feel very comfortable with stairs. So,
oh yeah,
if he goes down these stairs, he may not be going back up because of his build and because of his situation. So it's going to take some real convincing to get him down there, unless of course, he really wants some of that treasure. Then he'll probably risk it. But just letting you know, that's one of your disadvantages, Centaurus, is that stairs aren't too bad, but like ladders, those sort of things, being inside buildings is not your forte. And also, this ceiling is kind of low in the basement. So you're probably about 4 or 5 inches from your head before it hits the rafters, just by looking at it.
I don't think Zayla knows Centaurus very well, but probably knows his situation. So she goes up to him and say, I know this can be very difficult, but I think you can do it, and gives him some inspiration.
Okay, so you're going to inspire him?
Yeah.
Okay. So go ahead and check off one of your inspiration buttons. And then the actual effect, I want you to drag that over to Centaurus. So you can drag it to him in the combat tracker, and it will put the effect on him. When he wants to use it, he'll just let us know. He'll roll a D6 because you're level 3, and then we'll add that to any modifier that he needs. Why don't you roll a persuasion check as well?
Okay.
I would say if you roll high enough, you should be able to convince him to try to risk it. Yeah, so that's a pretty good roll. So Centaurus, Zayla has kind of batted her eyes at you and said, look, we're all together. We're going to get this dealt with. We'll figure it out. The thing that's bothering you the most, other than the staircase and being enclosed, is the fact that this guy has hunted a lot of animals. And it's actually very, very disgusting for you and Tristal and Leyren, because this guy has no regard for nature, from what you can tell. He's basically, to you guys, he's kind of a poacher. You just
That's what it looks like.
Yeah, it doesn't look very good. I'm not saying he's evil or anything, but he makes his living off of nature, but not in a good way.
Very disrespectful.
Yes, very
Very
disrespectful.
wasteful.
Yes. He probably skins them and, eats some of the meat, sells it, and then he probably goes to something else. He doesn't bury them. He doesn't do a ritual. He doesn't any of that stuff. Just in it for the coin.
Well, I think it's a little too late to leave, even though we have his money. That would break the module.
Yeah, you could leave.
Module over. But I'm interested in finding out what's down there. So I guess I will. If nobody else has anything against it, guys, I'm going to go downstairs. And I'm assuming this is only one.
Yeah, the stairwell is like, less than. It's probably about 6 feet wide, the most.
So do we have any other? We have no other fighters, do we?
Well, we have Samus. We have Centaurus as a fighter. Yeah, Centaurus is a warrior.
Tarius, how do you feel about going down first? Hey, that way you don't fall.
Yeah, that probably would be the best option. So I guess I'll go ahead and lead way.
So I hand him my.
Okay.
Do we need our hands to hold on, or can we draw our weapon?
You can draw your weapons, and if you need to,
You don't really need a torch because I have a hooded lander that sees out 30 feet out. Torch
okay.
can cover 20.
Right. Okay.
Okay. Then as I go on there, I'm gonna go ahead and draw out my two-handed spear.
Okay. So as you're going down the stairs, I need you to make a athletics check. Okay. So you get down the stairs and you kind of almost fall. Like your feet are so awkward on the angle of the steps that you nearly fall, but it's kind of hard to fall because of your body shape. But you rack up your knuckles and your arms and your hooves all the way down. You make a bunch of noise going down there. And when you do that, the clicking stops.
Well, at least you didn't break the stairs.
Yeah. So
Or
you've
fell
made it
through the stairs.
you've made it down to the bottom of the stairwell. And let me show you where you are on the map.
So just to check, are you gonna lure it out, or are we shall we come?
So 2 of you are down there.
Should we see the map?
Only if you're downstairs.
Well, I
So-
mean, I'll head down.
I was right behind Centaur.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm already down below
Okay.
with the lantern.
All right. So I will share it with the rest of you.
I'll-
So with the map, you want to place it. Don't worry about so much what you're looking at. More or less place the frame where you want it to go. And then once you have the frame of the map centered where you want it, then I want you to right click on the map and then you'll see resize button and click on the bottom resize vertical and it'll recenter it for you. And I'm going to put the rest of you on the map too. So let's see. And if you need to zoom in, you can hold the control key, click on the map, and then roll your mouse wheel forward. So
Okay, which way we came from?
you guys came from the left or the bottom left. There's a doorway. It's right where Relk is. Crystal. So the doorway is where the druid is. And I'll draw a little square there. So that's the door. Or the hallway. Like stairwell it leads up. Along the floor, there is a lot of water damage. So it looks like rainwater and blood have stained the floors. And there is kind of a brickwork that doesn't make sense for this type of dwelling. So immediately, this does not look like a regular basement situation. And from the echo that you get when you guys come down the hall there, it looks like a huge cellar and a small house, like Demita said. So you're not sure what you're getting yourselves into. So I'm going to right click on your tokens and lock them. When you basically when you move, you want to be in a square, not halfway in, halfway off. And when you are moving, you cannot move through walls. You actually have to trace line to which direction you're moving. So I'm just kind of giving you a heads up.
Yeah, the lantern covers up this much, the light.
That's where your lantern is, right?
Yeah, I got it in my offhand. I got my short sword mode.
Okay. So that's your light source. So I'm going to reveal that part of the map. So how are you guys doing with the map itself? You guys okay?
Cool. Yeah.
Great.
All right.
Yep.
So I want to make sure that it can get a little bit weird because, if you don't have it placed correctly, it can really just drive you nuts the whole game. So what I'm trying to do is get you to keep it in one place and then just zoom in and out when you need to look. Don't move the map if you can help it. Try to keep it in one place. And
Yeah,
just
they need to add a feature lock map.
yeah, I know, I hate that too.
Yeah, I don't like the zoom feature or the scroll feature. I got to hold the little gold thing on the side to scroll.
Yeah, it sucks. But nonetheless, I mean, that's how it's done. And like I said, just try to keep the map where you want it, like frame wise. But let me take care of this. Y'all see that now?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay, so to the right are two heavy stone doors. Not really sure why this exists, but they do not look like your typical basement doors. To the north is a continuation of the hallway, and you still see little trails of old blood. It's brown at this point in the light of the lantern. At the end here was an old brazier that's actually not lit, even though it shows it's lit.
Can I go up and light the brazier?
Sure. So
Is
go
that
ahead. Now, when you move, I want you to trace your movement. And there you go. So that's Alex's movement. So who's going to go light the brazier?
Layroon.
Okay. So you can move through your allies. So go ahead and trace the route.
How do I trace it?
Pick your token up and drag it. Actually trace it to like you were moving, like you were walking through. Okay. Now from there you can trace it over towards the brazier. There you go. So that's your full movement rate, just about.
Yep.
So you head on over and you go ahead and light it. And it lights up this entire hallway. Along the walls are a bunch of scuff marks, bloody handprints, fur, and then that stench. And then there's a really super moldy kind of smell also down here, like old water that never dried properly. Perhaps even under the bricks or down a ways, there might be a water table.
Can I roll a nature check to see if it might be something that is harmful?
Okay. All right. So you kind of look around and sniff the air and such. You do not feel any immediate danger, but you know being exposed to this type of conditions for very long is not good for your breathing. So you know that if you spend a couple days down here, you'd get pretty sick because of the spores and the mildew and mold that's in the air. It's just like in real life. It's not very healthy.
I pass that information on to the rest of the team.
Okay.
Zayla then responds, well, perhaps we should get on quickly if we're not here to stay too.
What can we tell about these? Well, these doors. Looks like somebody just walked up to one.
Yeah, Namita went over to one of the doors. They're big, heavy, like vault-like doors.
Is it locked?
No, it's not locked. They're just very big and bulky, made of stone. So you push on it, and it does have a little give, but it's very heavy.
I keep pushing, but I'm being careful.
Okay. So you go ahead and push that your way into there, and what you notice is there's a chamber on the other side. The door kind of moves very slowly to the right. So when you're pushing on it, it swings open to the right. And inside looks like these sarcophagi. There's more than one, and then you notice a little bit of water damage, and it hasn't been disturbed in quite some time. Even the hinge that you pushed against kind of made this really loud, obnoxious sound, and it almost sounded like that clicking, but it's not.
What if the clicking is just a bunch of water drop?
That would suck. But there's two sarcophaguses laying down, and there's like 4 or 5 of them along the east wall. Alex.
And what about the one at the far corner? Is that open or that's?
It's similar. It has the same kind of give to the door. It doesn't feel locked or anything. So you want to try that door too?
Yeah, open. I tried the other door.
All right. So Namita goes to the other door, and this one's a little bit harder to push. You might even need to make a strength check. Or have someone help
Okay.
you.
I'll go help.
Okay, so on your character sheet, you have your standard actions. It has dodge, help, hide, and ready. If you drag the button for help and drop it onto Namita's character, that'll give her advantage on opening the doorway.
One second. The button that looks like a person or the button that looks like a shield?
The button that looks like a person. So it's action help. So you just drag that to Namita. There you go.
I was wrong.
Oh, you drag it to Ranger. Okay. Okay. All right, Namita.
Okay.
Strength check.
It's a strength check.
Or athletics or whatever.
I'm proficient at athletics, so I can do it.
Okay. All right. So you manage to just tough it out. Takes almost all of your strength, and you just shove this door open. And on the other side of it is another chamber with a large sarcophagus. This one seems to be like maybe there's some dried blood on top of the sarcophagus. And there's a bunch of bones in here that have been scattered from previous kills from animals. So you can tell that most of the bones in here are probably animals without having a nature check and all that.
Was animals?
Was animals, yes. Most of them look fairly decayed, like they've been here for a few years or longer.
Okay, I'll close the door.
I was before you close the door, I was going to suggest, because this is how I play my guy. I'm curious about what is in these sarcophagi. Maybe we should.
Well, that's
I
an
was-
awful lot of sarcophagi. It's something is funky here, especially with all the smells. I'm beginning to wonder if it's not rotting flesh or something. So, can we make a roll for that?
Yeah, make a medicine check.
Okay.
You know, just from your experience on the road and fighting and being around death and such before, it really does have that gamey smell of death and decay. Mostly the animal variety, but nonetheless, it gives you the foreboding feeling that you shouldn't be here. This is totally wrong. This is against nature. This is horrible to you.
Yes.
Sacrilegious, almost.
Okay, are you done? Now I can close the damn door.
Yeah.
Yeah, I won't stop.
Because I don't feel comfortable about it.
Now, who wanted to go in?
That was Leyrune, but he just talked.
Okay, so you're going along with what he said then.
Yeah.
He stuck your foot or your leg in the door and said, "Hold on a sec," and then he talked you out of it.
Yeah.